from British Columbia, Barry Penner. He's been listening in to what Gary Mar had to say. What did you think of his comments?
I know Gary. We've worked together in the past on a variety of issues, and I don't disagree with much of what he said. But of course, there's the political dynamic in British Columbia, and we know that the current provincial government has taken a rather hostile view towards the idea of an oil pipeline to northern British Columbia. Now, that's the political view. We know what their legal standing is because the same administration, with a different premier, but the same political party, tried every legal tool in the toolkit to stop the Trans Mountain expansion, and they were unsuccessful at every turn. In other words, the legal cards are held by the federal government because of how our constitution works on the distribution of powers.
Barry, you were born in Kitimat, is that not right?
That's true. Yes, I'm from Kitimat.
You know this part of the country where the suggestion is the Alberta pipeline would run from oil country across northern BC to the northwest coast to either Prince Rupert or Kitimat. You know how sensitive this ecosystem is. You know how cherished that ecosystem is, and the not just the ecosystem, but of course the marine ecosystem through the Hecate Strait. Do you actually think that coastal First Nations would agree to this?
At the moment, they're saying no. And so that is their position, and that's been their consistent position with respect to the previous effort with Northern Gateway when Enbridge was hoping to build a pipeline. So we'll see. Sometimes people do change their views, especially when offers get made. That remains to be seen. And I think we're still a long ways away from anything serious like that being offered or proposed. What we did see today was negotiations taking place, a lot of politics taking place, and commitments. But I think Premier Eby's right about this. Any serious proposals probably still many years away. More imminent is a discussion around expanding the capacity of the recently doubled Trans Mountain pipeline through to Vancouver. The provincial government seems willing to put their shoulder behind that effort, but politically, their supporters are reluctant to see them endorse a northern pipeline. But I should say that polling shows consistently that British Columbians at large do support a pipeline to the north coast. Maybe those numbers fluctuate depending on exactly how you word the question or the details that they're told about. But polling even in the last couple of months on this question, as the topic's been in the news, showed that a majority of British Columbians would support a pipeline to the north coast.
And how about David Eby? We're expecting to hear from him in only a matter of minutes. He has been steadfast in his opposition to any proposed pipeline to the north coast. He would have to come on board, presumably, as well. Do you expect his position to change?
Well, I said the majority of British Columbians support the pipeline, but those people that tend to oppose the pipeline also tend to be NDP supporters. So that's the political conundrum for Premier Eby. Even if he wanted to support the pipeline, he would have a political problem within his own party. His own base would be likely quite upset at him. On the other hand, BC just announced today, just moments ago, a record deficit of $11.2 billion. That's an all-time high, far worse than it was during COVID, and we're not in a recession yet. So the province might be looking for revenue. And I know Premier Christy Clark, with a different party, when she was in office, she did talk about several conditions if the North Coast pipeline was to go ahead, and one of them would be enhanced revenue sharing. British Columbia certainly could use the revenue at this point in time.
And that revenue will be bolstered by the LNG pipeline Phase 2 that's coming up. Many of the major projects that the Prime Minister announced recently will be in British Columbia, expanding the TMX now tied to this. If we can go back to the environmental aspect just for a second, one of the things that was tied to this proposed pipeline by the Prime Minister was the promise that carbon capture and storage in Alberta would go ahead, the most significant project of its nature in Canadian history. What do you make of that?
Carbon capture has been talked about a lot for a long time. It's kind of the great hope for many people to try and reduce the emissions that are actually already in the atmosphere, or at least prevent it from getting worse. But it hasn't really been successfully completed yet on a large scale. There's been pilot projects, it's been demonstrated, but if something very significant at scale could get developed successfully in Canada, that would be a real breakthrough. That would really help pave the way for other countries to adopt the same technology. Of course, the holdback has been that it's very expensive. And so the question remains just how economic it would be and how will it be funded.
All right, Barry Penner, former Minister of the Environment with British Columbia. Thanks for your time today.
Very welcome.